Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Thriving with Autism podcast. I am here with an absolutely incredible woman this morning. Every time I speak with this woman, I get the most beautiful feelings of happiness, joy. What's real, what's important in life always comes to the forefront when I speak to this incredible human. So blessed to have Erena on the show this morning from Abloom Care Services. She is a bit of an entrepreneur with the creating her own space to work with incredible clients on the spectrum and beyond, and so many other things. Erena, welcome to the show. So excited to have you here today. How are you? And if you could share a bit about yourself with our listeners.
Ah, I am feeling very at peace this morning, and I really appreciate the way that you've brought in like what really matters because a Bloom Care Services really helps support my purpose, which is to help people to contribute back and really make an impact in the world. So, a little bit about Abloom Care Services. We provide high intensity supports and dignified care to people with disabilities. And a lot of those beautiful individuals have autism. Abloom really came about from our lived experience. I co direct with my sister, Kahui, and we have a lot of experience in our family with mental health challenges, particularly with my brother who has long-term mental health challenges. He will always need support, and we know how hard it is to watch someone you love struggle, and especially with systems that feel cold, confusing, and inconsistent. So our family has carried around quite a big fear about what will happen to him when we're gone. And we were really fortunate that our parents were in a position to secure a permanent home for him, where he will always be safe. He will always be able to create space for decisions and to have a place where he feels as though he can be supported with dignity. So at a Bloom, we want the same peace of mind for families. We lead with love. We build trust slowly. And we believe that even if people don't have the capacity to express thanks, that everyone deserves a quality of life, a high quality of life.
This theme I see running so often with the beautiful people I get to speak with on this podcast about it being in their family,
Mm.
being part of their upbringing, that they've been exposed to these things that have inspired them to create these incredible service based projects. Could you tell us a little bit what that was like for you growing up with some of the things that you've just mentioned, anything that feels relevant, and how you
Yeah,
manage that as well?
definitely. Yeah, so my brother had drug induced psychosis around when I was 14, 15 years old.
Wow.
And that really changed the trajectory of that. He was in and out of mental health units. And when I was younger, my brother was like my hero. He was really my leader. And my mother used to always laugh because wherever my brother went, I would be two steps behind him. So when he became quite unwell, mentally unwell, it felt as though I started to grieve my brother while he was still alive because he had changed quite significantly.
Wow, that
And
must have been quite heavy for you.
yeah, so it was very confusing. It was a confusing period, and because I went to boarding school, but when I came home in the holidays, I would stay with him and help him around the house, much like the support workers do for our incredible families now. Meal preps and tidying up and supporting them with being able to move around in the community. So that was a really special time. Mm.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I guess like the unique parts of your life journey that's inspired the work you do now, what happened like when you birthed your new project? How did that come about? Like what was the catalyst to lean into this work and create, Abloom Services?
Uh, well, interesting enough, my sister has always been uh, like a big advocate for us to create a family business. And we both have our own businesses as well. So I also have a coaching business, and she runs a charity down in the Gold Coast
Mm-hmm.
called GC Storehouse, providing food and low cost household goods to people in the community. So she wanted us to run a cafe, and I wasn't interested in that because I've
Yeah.
always been interested and involved in disability support and the sector. I've had over, I think, 11 years now in the disability community. They can't
Wow.
get rid of me. So she had an idea to start an NDIS business, and immediately I felt like a deep resonance deep within me that this was an amazing way to contribute and give back. And we're all about helping people. So our hearts are aligned with the vision that we have moving forward. Hmm.
I love that. That's yeah, it's so beautiful again hearing these stories of how these things are inspired. So I guess with all your experience working with kids and adults on the spectrum and beyond, what's the most powerful piece of advice you can offer a parent who is feeling disconnected from their child and connecting?
Mm. That is that is a really tricky one for families. I've worked with families in particular for over oh yeah, 11 years probably. Same amount of time. So I started in as a learning facilitator in AIU. So I spent a lot of time communicating with families about their loved ones, and they had very complex needs, a lot of them. Some of them were nonverbal. They communicated in different ways, I'm going to say that. And they had different perspectives of the world. And one of the things that really supported those families was finding those activities where they could sit beside their child and participate, even in parallel play, but just being present with them. Sometimes it's not always to do with the words that you say, it's
Yeah.
being there with the person, breathing with them, acknowledging them, and even witnessing what they are doing, rather than focusing on what they are not. In the disability sector in particular, there's like this deficit model that I don't prescribe to. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that people are unique, and they bring a quality that is their essence into the world. And that's what's most important, to value that and to value the person rather than their complex behavior or the things that are coming up that are impacting their life.
I love that what you just said about not focusing on what they're not doing. That really hit my
Mm,
heart. And at the beginning of this podcast, I, or just before we jumped on, feeling your energy and instantly speaking with you, I felt like I slowed down a couple of notches and I tuned back a bit into my breath. And I think with these days, we're so busy with everything that's
mm,
going on around us. It's really easy to miss that with our children and
mm,
with the people we're spending time with. So, that ability to slow down, to reset, to prepare ourselves even on how we're going to show up. I've just been reading a book recently called The Third Space, which is,
oh,
have you read that book, The Third
no.
Space? Oh my gosh.
Writing it
Anyone that
down.
hasn't checked it out, please do it. I actually met the author a few weeks ago at a coaching session, and he's worked with all these incredible elite athletes and basically studied their brains of why those elite athletes like, Tiger Woods and Roger Federer, I can't remember how you say his name, Federer, I think it is, all
Okay.
those elite athletes, what's the difference between those guys and all the other elite athletes that are equally as talented but don't have that mindset. And it came down to this thing of what he calls the third space, which is creating a space in between the spaces. So let's say you're at work and you're coming home to your family,
Mm.
having a third space that you go to prepare to celebrate your
Mm.
wins for the day, to then take a hot shower or a cold shower or whatever you need to do, meditate, breath work, whatever it is, to reset for a few minutes, and then set really clear intentions on how you're going to choose to show up for the next space that you go to.
Mm.
And that's really been a game changer for me. There's a bit more to it than that, but it's been a
Mm.
massive game changer incorporating that third space. So a few things in there as
Mm.
well.
That's beautiful. I always I love the way that you're talking about setting up for success, because
Mm,
that's a lot of what we focus on when we ask our support staff to go in and help families,
yeah,
is how can we set them up for success? How can we set them up to have, the visual schedules or those transitional skills, cues? How can we set them up by knowing more about that person and their interests so that we can start to build a relationship with them?
yeah,
And when people are able to connect, and I suppose this is one of the key values that we have in Abloom Care Services, is that we build trusting relationships. And we build them slowly, and we
yeah.
build them regularly, and we build them with that consistent presence of the support team, of us touching base with those plan nominees, or with the family, or with their different providers, to ensure that they know that we're trying to create this approach that supports that individual on all those different levels.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. And that's, with, my project, Autism Music Australia and the Australian Music School for Autism and Special Interest
Mm.
Learning, that's a big part of, that heart connection with the clients and the parents and everything, of course, is huge. And I feel that's so lost at times these days, especially, the more I study with AI, which I'm super grateful for, and all the things that
Mm.
we get to fast track things we do. But one of the things I often hear with the beautiful elite sort of coaching people I'm blessed to work with is that
Mm.
human quality of personal
Yes.
touch and personal heart-based connections will never
Mm.
be lost. It's going to excel over the upcoming 10 or 15 years to make us stand out and bring that magnetism to the beautiful souls that we're blessed to work with.
Yes, I 110% agree with that. Nothing will replace connection,
Yeah,
presence, intertwining with people's hearts. Nothing can replace that.
yeah,
And I find a lot in NDIS that people are really interested in scaling,
yeah,
but with that comes, there is a big gap between how many people you can serve and the level of support that you can do it at. So, something that I really admire about my sister, as she has always been like coming back to that space of make sure that we can serve people, and we can serve people ridiculously well. So although we've been in the NDIS space for a couple of years now, it took us a year to be completely registered for high intensity supports.
yeah,
And in that time, we haven't really marketed like, out into the community yet, because we've been building out the back end of our systems
mhm,
so that as soon as people get in contact with us, they feel supported as soon as they get on the phone with me, or as soon as they reach out in an email. Like, we don't want people to feel as though we cannot connect with them in all different ways.
yeah, 100%.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel that, and I feel that in you every time we speak. Just that kindness and that heart and that soul tribe. It's I think
Mm.
with heritage as well. Maybe relating to some of the more island kind of vibes. Me, Fijian. You've got New Zealand, right? New Zealand heritage.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we're Pacific neighbours. Love bring those vibes of that culture and that simplicity of almost
Yeah.
old school kind of tribal values to the work we do in Australia. It's beautiful to share that magic. Mm,
Yeah, definitely agree. And I guess that's what our business, our guiding principles even have that in it, is our whakawhanaungatanga, which is whānau, which is family, whanaunga, which is relation, and whanaungatanga, which is relationships. So that's all about connection. That's all about bringing people together. That's all about, what you're talking about with that understanding of tribalism.
Yeah. Yeah. Community. The vibe. I love it. Could you help suggest some small daily actions that could help build strength with that connection with people with their kids? Like if there's parents that are looking for things to connect more deeply with their kids, could you suggest some, small daily actions that people could incorporate?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting one because carers, parents, and guardians have a ridiculous high level of stress. Like they are like, we might be coming in from here and they're coming up in from here from a very high level of stress before they even open their eyes because
Yeah.
they have a lot of um, responsibilities to support their children and advocate for them.
Yeah.
And I think that what often happens is they're so busy giving and caring for their children that they actually forget about looking after themselves. So when as we're talking about that kind of rushing through and busy support, them to connect on a deeper level is to truly come back and take moments for themselves as well, to remember that they're not just there as, the taxi service for a therapeutic support. They're not just there to be the carer, they're actually there to be a parent. And the best way to be a parent is to come back and just breathe into your, sense of self, grounding yourself, coming back into acknowledging that you're doing an amazing job as a parent. Like even just caring and having those thoughts is the way that you are continually involving yourself in providing care for your child. So one of the ways that I think you connect best is actually connecting with yourself and taking some mindfulness, whether that's actually going out onto the grass barefoot, stepping onto the grass, taking some deep breaths on Mother Earth to ground yourself into the here and the now, and then going back in to be with your child, not to do anything, just to be there, just to watch, witness, and
I
be
love
connected
that.
in that space.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. That's really hitting home to bring that advice and support to the parents to actually bring it back to themselves rather than trying to incorporate a specific tool. It's more about looking after yourself. And I think what comes to mind, maybe a summary of just what you said, is working on that representation of self, like doing the things, putting the things in place you need to look after yourself, to be kind to yourself, to be in the best
Yeah.
place possible, to be that best representation of self, to support the people that you're with.
I think that's like the parents that I speak to day in day out, they are on the verge of burnout.
Yeah.
They have a lot of carers fatigue, and it's really challenging to want to connect with your child when you're coming from a place of desperation and struggling with your
Yeah.
own mental health as well. And for those parents in particular, they don't have a lot of time
Yeah.
to implement tools and techniques, and it's really just even just those moments, those 1 minute moments of just being able to breathe when you're in the bathroom. One take 1 minute to really just come back and put your hand on your chest and your hand on your tummy and just breathing into your body and feeling the rise of your hands as you do so, and then that release of the breath and allowing that hand to really press down onto your heart as well. So
Yeah.
like these little tiny micro moments that you have, just learning different ways to really connect in with your body and to always receive more and more support that makes you a better parent. Always receiving support for your child, receiving support for yourself. Like that's one of the key things that I've noticed as a challenge for families. It's not that they're wanting to spend all of the money. It's a ridiculous marketing thing that's going on in the mainstream media at the moment. What I've found is that families, one, don't know how to spend the funds and maximize them, and two, that they're very concerned that they're going to overspend.
Mm.
So they hold back and they're like, oh, I've got to try and sort it out, rather than like, we need to scaffold all that support in
Yeah.
from the beginning. And then we can always like release some of those things once we have a stabilized and regular, consistent support in place for your child.
Yeah, 100%. And then I've heard the stories of people having their, their money cut because they didn't use the
Mm,
money for the services that
yes.
they had the money provided for. So there's that flip side as well.
Yeah, and that's happening more and more with the changes in those funding allocation that came through in the beginning of July.
Yeah,
So, one of the messages that we say to our families is use it or lose it.
yeah,
It's there to be used
yeah,
for therapies. It's there to be used to get support for your loved one. It's there to be used to get support to up-level yourself with knowledge about disability for your child. And that's another amazing way actually to help parents, is to feel as though there are resources out there where you can educate yourself about disability, the
yeah.
disability of your child, of your loved one, of your family members, so that you feel better equipped to respond rather than react.
100%. Yeah, thank you again for sharing such epic knowledge. I have another question for you. What's one common misconception about the uniquely gifted kids and adults that you work with that you wish more parents and carers understood? Some misconception that you've experienced along the way.
That they can't do anything for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one that comes up.
Yep.
I that's kind of lead. That's that same thing about working on a deficit model.
Yep.
I'm always looking for strengths. I'm looking for what's already working well. I'm looking for the amazing personalities that they have, the interests that they have. They bring so many different viewpoints that you haven't thought about into the world. And if you are willing to really connect and see different ways that they connect with the world, it can really open your eyes and expand your perception of what's possible. So I always think that, particularly when you've been around in the disability for a long time, you can kind of slowly move into this weird space of people can't do anything. And it's so
Yeah.
not true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not true.
Yeah.
There are unique and amazing qualities that all people bring to this world. And that's the biggest misconception I have ever had and continue to have, is that people don't think that they can do anything. And it's so not true. And also that even if they may need more support in different ways to build independence, to build those skills to, perform those personal cares, things like that, that doesn't mean that it's never going to happen. I always have that mindset that it's possible. It doesn't. I just spoke to a parent the other day, and their child had challenges with toileting, and it took their child 13 years to sense and understand when they needed to go to the bathroom, and they can do that independently.
Yeah.
So that time frame may be different to others, right? That are neurotypical. That doesn't mean that that's not a freaking success. That is
Absolutely.
incredible. That is amazing. And that is a big testament to that parent that never gave up, that never thought that it wasn't possible. Like, it just took a little bit more scaffolding, it took more support, it took more therapeutic input to really be able to put those steps in place for that child that is now able and very, very even able to sense when they need to go to the bathroom without any prompts. So I think that there's amazing ways that that child brings a lot of joy and a lot of value into that household that they don't miss,
So what
even with
shifted
the other
there?
things.
So what shifted there with, is it the simplicity of giving the person permission to think for themselves, to act for themselves, to feel for themselves?
For that case in
Let's
particular,
say
with
for
the
that case in particular, or however, I feel like I have a really similar conversation every podcast about this, and some of the parents that continue doing things and have these really set in stone perceptions about what their kids and their can and can't do, and it's when they actually
Mm.
let go that the kids start doing a lot more. So yeah, however that resonates with you.
I definitely feel it is a big permission piece to have those life goals. Because sometimes when the goals aren't hit, like next week or a year, sometimes we're like, oh, maybe we need to change those goals and like make them like reduce them or whatever. But she never did that. She was like, this is the goal, and we'll just always be stepping slowly, slowly, slowly toward that goal. It's possible. And I believe that it's a combination of empowering her child through specific strategies that were provided by the therapeutic team that he
Yeah,
has around him, and from the follow through.
yeah,
So a lot of those, a lot of the actual practical, ways of going to the bathroom, you need to have the steps, and usually that needs to be explicitly taught along the way,
broken
so that
down.
they can break it down
Yeah.
into those steps that are manageable, and that they can build on them slowly but surely. And in this case, it was an overwhelming success.
I love that. What a great thing to have an overwhelming success in.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now they have that independence.
Yeah. 100%.
Hmm.
Yeah, independence, that confidence, I see that again with the autism music programs, just that confidence that the kids develop, and that independence with those small successes along the way, just to be able to do that, those things more, which in turn gives the parents more freedom, more time
Hmm.
to, work on that representation of selves, or get some rest to come back and be
Yes.
better.
I think I saw that quite a lot when I worked in a specialized educational setting. They had they didn't just have academic achievements. They really focused on the other ways that the children were developing and growing, and really encouraging and celebrating all the different milestones that those children had.
Yeah.
And I think I took a lot away from that. Like, when we only think of success in a certain way, it can be very limiting. But when we're really focused on the person, and even like developing those goals in those intake sessions that I have with families, sometimes they don't realize that they're aspiring to those
Yeah.
until we have those conversations, and they have the freedom to actually explore what that really looks like for the individual, without judgment, without like trying to put them in a little box, and that's all that you're allowed to achieve, because somehow you've got this disability, and that means nothing is outside of that is allowed anymore. It's
Yeah.
just actually ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Just taking all that in. Thank you again. So, could you share a breakthrough moment that you've had with one of your clients, that's something that's unforgettable, that's reminded you of exactly why you're on this path?
Hmm. Oh, I've had so many. I think I'll focus on Abloom. When I started to understand a little bit more about the families and the challenges and issues that they were having, one family in particular, they have a child with spinal muscular atrophy, and the mother and the daughter were struggling a lot because they weren't heard, they weren't being listened to, they didn't feel acknowledged as people, and also they didn't have the right supports in place. So there was a lot going on, and they felt very, very confused in the NDIS system, and they had experienced quite a lot of horror stories, actually, a lot of neglect, um, injuries as well. hearing those kind of stories really breaks my heart.
Mm.
But the thing that was a really big breakthrough was the parent, actually, and because we were talking to the parents here, she went from feeling very intimidated by, planners calling her. She felt very out of her depth when she was talking about the supports that was required for her daughter. And she turned that around because she had not received the level of support before from a provider that were, interested and actively advocating for her child's needs. So that really took a lot of that burden off of her shoulders, that she felt like she was doing it all alone.
Yeah.
And she came back to us. She said, the planner called me and I told them exactly what I needed for my child. I knew exactly what I wanted to happen, and I was able to use those words. I was able to express myself confidently, and because I knew that I had your support.
Mm.
So before that, it was just kind of like everything felt like really confusing,
Yeah.
and the pieces weren't coming together. But then afterwards, after we had built that trust, and that took, different ways of communicating with her, via email and the video format and via phone, and constantly letting her know that we're there to support her, that we're there to support the family, that she doesn't need to do it alone.
Yeah.
That sense of grounded support opened her up to be like, oh, actually, I have the space to think and express myself clearly with when it really matters about my child's support needs.
This is a story I hear all the time. And I see this with the confusion of the clients that come to us often.
Mm.
So, what is a piece of advice you could give to those parents that are in that situation where they're confused about how to use the services correctly? Is it as simple as getting in touch with a support coordinator that resonates with you?
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of, if you do have support coordination in your plan, that is the number one thing that you should be using, is really to talk to them so that you can understand your plan. You can talk to them about the goals that you have, even just talking about the challenges and the issues that are arising for your family
Yeah.
so that they can be heard. Sometimes we cannot solve them. Sometimes those things are outside of our control, but it's being able to share and not feel as though you're doing it all on your own,
Yeah.
or not being able to express yourself when, there's hard days, there's challenging days. And, for us, we don't have the same intensity that parents do when they're 24/7 around their loved ones, providing support, advocating for them, driving them there, organizing, with the providers, like all of those things. So if possible, always get your support coordinator to take over as many of those tasks as possible, and really put you at ease around how your funding is being allocated and where it can be used most to be of most benefit for your child. The other thing is that if you haven't already, create a meeting with your LAC, your local area coordinator, if you don't have support coordination in your plan, and ask them about your plan and what's possible for supports, not only formal supports, but informal supports around in the community as well, because there's a lot of resources for
Yeah.
parents that they're not quite aware of
Yeah.
because they don't know where to find them. And
Yeah.
LACs are really good at providing them with informal avenues to access that. So that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to find out about those as well.
Yeah, so just knowing that you are supported and those people are out there to work with. So yeah, amazing. So one of the things we often get is many parents feel anxious or overwhelmed when thinking about their child's future. So what would you
Yeah.
say to help them feel more empowered and hopeful for their child's future?
Yeah, this is huge. Like, there's a lot of weight around recognizing, particularly with where we come from, is those high intensity supports, really having to prepare and plan and set up your loved ones for long term support. There's a lot of guilt associated with handing over the care of your loved one to someone else as
Yeah,
well. I want to bring that in. And that's really normal. That's
totally.
actually really normal to have all of these complex and different emotions as you start to even think about what the future may look like for your loved one or for the person that you care for. One of the things that I always love to share with families is that you don't have to figure out in one day. It's good to start exploring with different providers.
Yeah.
Start ringing them up and seeing what's out there.
I couldn't
And
recommend that
also,
enough. Some of the stories I hear are some not so positive, some ridiculously positive. So 100% resonate with that.
and I think that one of the favorite things that I've found a lot of success with parents that start to get the right supports in place for their children is that they join communities of parents that understand that disability in particular.
Yeah.
Like joining communities of parents with autism, joining parents, that have experienced ABI, because a lot of those now are from, accidents and things like that when they're in, their later, 20s or so. So they recognize and they have that like experience of what it means to go through these different stages. And being able to relate to your loved one in a different way if it's unexpected. There's a lot of grief around who just like how I felt like with my brother. I felt like I was grieving my brother while he was still alive, and
Yeah.
that is okay. It's okay to have those moments of sadness. It's okay to, actually move into that space of that doesn't need to move anywhere, doesn't need to change, doesn't need to go anywhere, but acknowledge that. Acknowledge it and start to explore with different providers about long term solutions, particularly around housing and how you can, if they need that, um, who is around to support them in your family if they want to. Some family members do want to keep their families close to them. We've got a family out over in the Logan area, and they have set up a space for their loved one that's still being modified for the home so that it's safe for them. They have a lot of sensory challenges, visual impairment, seizure related things going on with that participant. So, how do they access supports in the home?
Yeah.
They don't want to put them into a supported independent living situation. They don't want to do that. So, what kind of supports can they have, both formal and informal, which is, family, community? Like, how do they put all of those together? And that support coordinator is really a key in doing that as well. But also, if you're in those communities, you actually get to hear other people speaking about these problems that you feel might be just on your own journey. You're really not
Yeah.
alone. There's many, many individuals that have these thoughts, waking up at 3 a.m. in the middle of the night going, holy moly, what do I need to do to get my child ready for the future? And that happens a lot with parents, So um, recognizing that there's like threads that you can, express that. Say, what is everyone else doing about their child? A lot
Yeah.
of people that have the kids that are turning those school leaver age, they don't really know the steps of how to become the plan nominee. Like, get
Yeah.
on your Facebook groups and just be like, what's everyone doing?
Yeah.
It's not a silly question. No questions are silly questions. If it's keeping you up at night, it's a question that needs to be asked. If it's
Definitely. And that
upsetting you,
permission,
it's something, yeah.
yeah, it's such a permission piece to, give people that green light that it's okay to be feeling those things. It's okay to be thinking those things. I'm not alone. All these things.
Mm.
And again, it's another theme that I see coming up time and time again.
Mm. Community is so important.
Yeah.
It's really what it's coming back to again and again, is that community and connection is so vital for parents people with disabilities, and
Yeah.
also for people with disabilities as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you think of a time when a child or client of yours surprised you with their abilities and perspective? And what did that moment teach you about expectations and potential?
I've worked with, I've often worked with the most challenging behaviors. So I worked a lot with kids that had quite aggressive behaviors, or behaviors that were of concern. And I had that innate knowledge that that behavior was communicating a need. And when you understand the need, the behavior dissipates, and it changes and it grows and it develops. Uh, One of the children that I supported in a specialized setting, this comes to mind. I had a lot of experience working with multidisciplinary team, so I had the joy of implementing behaviour support plans for over 5 years or so. And one kid in particular was exhibiting quite aggressive tendencies toward other students, to staff, and they started to work with me one on one. We did a lot around understanding the structure of the day, different strategies they could use if they had like heightened emotions. And they went from being secluded, quite secluded and one to one, to actually integrating back into the classroom with support for longer periods of time. And the transition from being, one to one and seen as that person that's just, challenging, or not quite right, or nobody wants to be around them, to actually seeing that person starting to create friendships again, and
Yeah.
starting to be involved and included in games, and also being able to get back into the classroom to learn, was something that really highlighted that it's possible when you have all of those supports in place, and when you truly focus on that person's development, not on your time frame, but
Yeah.
on theirs.
Yeah. That question of what do you need, such a powerful tool with kids, adults, anyone, but especially with children. And coming to that question of what do you need without needing an answer, just about to hold that space of I'm here for you and what do you need,
Mm.
whether they have the capacity to answer that question, or verbal or non-verbal. There's just an energy about that question that provides such a safe and trustable space for the kids to feel and to look at things a little bit differently. So yeah, love that.
Mm.
Mm.
I love the way that, especially children, they communicate with their bodies, and it's very obvious if you
Yeah,
start to watch.
definitely. I have one more question for you. Thank you so much for making the time to speak with us today, or speak with me today, speak with our listeners today. The power of music and emotion. Is there a song that stirs something deep inside of you, something that makes you cry or laugh or feel joy or nostalgia? Maybe a song that reminds you of being with a certain person when you're a kid. What does that song mean to you, and what pictures does that paint in your mind?
Oh, yes, I have a song. It's actually the theme song for Dawson's Creek.
Nice.
I can't remember the name of the song. I'm not very great at the titles. But I remember I used to watch that when I was 15,
Hmm.
and it was, all of the rave when we were young. But my my very first boyfriend, he was incredible at guitar. Like, he was just a genius. Like, anything that you sang or you played, he would pick it up by ear and he'd just play it. So I remember I was sitting there and I was saying, "Oh, I love this song. Like, it's the best song out." And he just picked up the guitar and he just started to play it. And he also was a singer too. So he sang it to me. And I remember my heart swooned. And I'll always remember that feeling of, like someone was gifting me that rhythm, that song, that moment,
Yeah.
through the power of music.
I love that. Yeah. Wow. Oh, yeah. So there's hope for all the budding guitarists and musicians out there also that they want that swooning superpower ability. It's a thing. Just putting that out there. I love that we both had bird noises today. I think my birds here got my office window open and they've been louder today, I think, with some of the bird noises that you've got coming through. So we're giving people the full experience today. Erena, thank you so much for your time. Where can people find you? Where can they get in touch with you and experience some of your magic?
Uh, Definitely head on over to our website, abloomcareservices.com. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, and we're also on Instagram. But our website is probably the fastest way to find us. And we're really looking forward to connecting with more families. We're
Yeah.
really looking forward to connecting with more people. And I feel that when you place yourself in a position of service to others, that people find you because they
Yeah.
resonate with your heart.
Definitely. And with someone like Erena, there's always that ability to reach out. So I will have your website link in the description on the podcast. It'll be across all the platforms, so people will be able to directly contact you through there. And yeah, just thank you so much for your time. I would love to get you on my other podcast, Music Spirit and Accountability, to talk a bit more about business and some of those back end things that I'm sure you're an absolute whiz and a gunner if you're open to that. So again, thank you so much for your time, Erena. Just beautiful witnessing your magic always, and look so forward to many more of these conversations.
Oh, thank you so much. Very grateful, very grateful.